Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. And on this topic today, again, we have factory, farming, agriculture, and agritech. It's a big and old topic. So today we're going to have our distinguished speakers on the panel. We have three today. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. But before that, I am Terence from LATOKEN. You are now on BCTV. And today on our panel, we have Tusha. Introduce yourself and the companies that you represent.
Hi, Terence. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on the show again. Uh, I represent Consultancy Ventures and Saffron First. So, Consultancy Ventures is an investment management firm, and Saffron First is an angel network which is morphing into a fund very soon. My experience has been in companies like Deloitte and Touche and Brand Capital. Have raised humongous amount of debt for Systema, Russian company's Indian unit, and I've also worked as a CFO with Distribution Logistics, which is a mid-market company owned by Guggenheim Partners. In last 5 to 6 years, have primarily been into investing space, hand-holding companies and startups across a variety of sectors, most specifically tech. And it's always my pleasure to be on your show, and I look forward to a lot of interesting discussion from here on.
Great. Welcome back then, Tusha. Shreya, over to you. A quick introduction and the companies that you represent.
Hi everyone, I'm Shreya Gupta and I am representing Venture Gurukul Capability Fund. So we are an early stage sector agnostic fund looking to invest in everything and everybody digitally transforming the everyday economy. So we are actively looking right now to invest in companies that are well positioned in India and in Asia and the MENA region that are kind of creating a industry difference and bringing technology into play for everything. So I am here today to talk about agri-tech and see how we are placed in the industry and what we can do with the ecosystem.
Great. Welcome on board, Shreya. I'm sure
Thanks
your
for
input
having
today
me.
will be very nice and insightful. Gary, over to you. For those who don't know who you are, a quick introduction.
I feel like I'm some kind of a game show. Right? For those who don't know who you are, here we go again.
Here we go again, Gary.
So, my name's Gary Fowler, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 16 companies. I've been in, thankfully and lucky to be involved in two unicorns. So, Click Software was on the original management team, sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion about 18 months ago. And I also am the co-founder of Viva.ai. It's a unicorn in the AI HR tech company area. So David Yang, a billionaire, is my partner in that company. And I love artificial intelligence. I write a lot about it. Actually, today I have an article on AI and quantum computing coming out in Forbes. I've written about 103 articles in the last year. And so, this is a great time for us. This digital transformation has given us across the board a great opportunity in areas like for farming, specifically in areas like big data,
Hmm.
crop prediction, et cetera. So it's great to be on the panel today. And I am the CEO and co-founder of GSD, Get Shit Done Venture Studios. We're an AI venture studios located in Silicon Valley. Although right now I'm in Palm Beach, Florida, because it's nicer than being locked into the house in Silicon Valley.
I would agree with you there, Gary. And welcome back to the show. Thank you to all the panel for making time. And of course, for those watching in as well from where you are, if you're watching us from YouTube, again, do help us out. The algorithm matters. Click like and subscribe. And if you're on our main page itself, watching us through our TV channel, again, the links are here. You can see them. It's in my background, the virtual background. And you can also click down to view all the next shows that are coming about. So without further ado, we're going to talk about agriculture, agri-tech. Now, I'll just give you my portion of the understanding, and that's the horrible bit, I suppose, because what I understand is from stories where I grew up. And it looks like from the beginning of humanity itself, agriculture really allowed people to kind of build cities, build a wall, think, and then propel civilization itself. So that's what I understand. But it seems like one of the oldest industry at the moment is not yet fully embracing that digital technology, that connected transformation, so to speak. So today we're going to talk about that, and we're going to start off by kind of defining it first. So, what is the connectivity infrastructure and what is considered to be a connected infrastructure? Perhaps, Tusha, you can kind of introduce us to that.
Sure. I believe AgriTech typically has four themes, macro themes built into the sector. The first theme is agronomy. It's basically doorstep delivery of agri input products. It's around a $15 billion sector in India. There are companies and startups like AgroStar which are doing good work here. The second is farm to consumer. So it works like a consumer brand. It forms the largest component of the agri-tech sector. It is linked to outputs and market linkages like companies like Ninja Card, which are disrupting the sector through technology and supply chain platform. There are companies like Clover, which basically produce greenhouse grown farm produce to be and delivers through B2B and B2C channels. The third broad macro theme in agri-tech is precision agriculture. uh, it is essentially not a full stack solution, but specific tech intervention. Uh, and it consists of manufacturing and hardware materials, around $10 billion sector in India. It is very tough sector to crack. There are companies like Fussel, which is an AI powered SaaS platform for horticulture. So, very specific niche micro segment. Then the last macro theme is life sciences. So it has the power and capability of big data and data science. And example can be alternate proteins. So broadly we segregate agritech into these four big themes.
Right. I think you're right. To kind of build that whole infrastructure and ecosystem, you might definitely need all of that as well. Shreya, over to you with this one. What are the macro teams you think and the segmentation in the agri-tech side?
I think Tushar explained it quite well. I think the only thing that like market linkages also have a little bit of connection of fintech in agri-tech, like that is something that interests us a lot, is because India as an farming economy does a lot of these fintech based solutions like credit lending and farm lending is a very major component of anything that comes to your plate, in at least in our plates, I would like to say. And so that's one thing that kind of overlaps, and it kind of overlaps with everything supply chain and logistics, because the farmer bringing farm to fork is somewhere where the farmer has to have the market access and to be able to get his output at the right quality and stage. So that is one thing, and the other thing is also livestock and cattle management is what I still define in agri-tech. And I feel like especially the US and India, like there's a very major overlap as to how we want to digitize our cattle management and how to kind of process these dairy outputs and non-dairy outputs. So that is something that I look into actively here at VG. And yeah, and besides that, I think Tushar explained the rest of the ecosystem very well. And
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Shreya. That opening remark has been kind of complimenting to share as well. So I think we're on the right track here. Gary, over to you. What do you think a solid connected infrastructure looks like within the topic
Well,
today?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, we look at where we are. I mean, we've got the population of the world in the last 100 years has quadrupled. We've
Mm.
had a dramatically increase in the yield. So it's estimated by within the next 100 years that the population of the planet, actually a little less than 100, to the end of the century, will be about 13 billion. So we have less land and we've got an increased population. So yields become extremely important. So using technology like artificial intelligence. The other thing, how does everything's going to be connected together. So in a farm, and I grew up, I'm a country boy. I grew up in a farm. We had a village of 500 people in Pennsylvania. So I know what it's like directly because I grew up there. And I remember if you see something black and white and it has horns, it's probably a cow. I'm a simple guy, right? And if it has a longer tail and it's fluffy, it's probably a horse. So simple things.
I don't
But
think Indian cows have horns though.
uh, uh, depends on what kind of cow you have, right? If it's a Holstein or a
Probably.
bull, it has horns. If it's a Holstein cow, right, um, female, it probably doesn't have horns, although it can have horns, right? So anyhow, and if it had a fluffy tail, it's a horse, right? It's probably a horse of some sort. Anyhow, we have so look at where we are. We need to increase the yield. We need to have things like what's important for a farmer. What's the quality of the soil? So now with the Internet of Things, being able to have sensors throughout the field to be able to help us understand what we need to do to have the right fertilizer at the right place at the right time, depending on the crops. The other thing is one of the projects that we've been working on is a self-driving tractor for farmers. And so imagine being able to, not have to get up so early in the morning and have your tractor go out and do a lot of the work that would take you days to be able to do as a farmer on a large farm. So those kind of technologies are interesting. And then all the data that's generated. The other thing is, and these are, everything, the Germans have a phrase, the Gestalt, the sum of the parts equal the whole. All things will be connected. It'll be interesting. The farmer, traditional farmer was, my father was a farmer, my grandfather's a farmer, sure. But now the situation is more of being a scientist than, a farmer. And then I've written some articles recently on genetics, genomes, gene splitting, seeds, being able to do some incredible technology, some work, research on what kind of seeds would be the right, for soil. It used to take, a lot of lab time to be able to come up with those kind of suggestions, but now being able to model those things with artificial intelligence, much like drug discovery. And so I'm really excited about that. And then again, it's about connecting all together. I mean, imagine the farmer having a dashboard and any one time having alerts sent over. This is what needs to be done. And imagine the future where things via drones, et cetera, could actually fly up and start to do these for them. Imagine seeding, right? Seeding is a real pain. So sowing the soil, seeding, having systems out there, self-driving systems to do it for us, but a lot more precise than trying to, do it on our own. So, and then animal management, right? That you look at genetics and breeding cows and pigs and chickens and all kinds of things. Imagine having that capability right at your hand to make decisions. What about diseases, right? And what happens anyhow, I can go on and on tying AI into this stuff and RFID, et cetera, but it gives us a window into what's happening on the farm, and then a window to be able to make it's the ability to be able to course correct instantly instead of waiting for it to get to market and find out, hey, listen, this has um, E. coli or this is spoiled. Where did it come from? We've got to destroy all the vegetables. Imagine having RFID tags and a blockchain. So it's a beautiful world, and amazing because these technologies, the same technologies we're going to be using in manufacturing, same technologies we're going to be using in all kinds of different ways are now being applied to a farm, which is, the food supply is critically important, especially now with global warming and the changes taking place. And we just need to be able to course correct very, very quickly.
I think you're right on that one as well. Tusha and Shreya, what do you think? What else? How technology can yield new growth besides the point that Gary brought up?
So, Shreya, would you like to take it first?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking into this, and I feel like high yielding varieties of seeds, and especially now resistance seeds. The kind that, given that there's so much temperature fallout that keeps on happening, and now at least right now in Asia we see that there are unpredictable rains that happen and are ruining crops across our geographies. So water resistant and heat resistant seeds are something that are going to help us meet our margins and or like meet our demands of production, because eventually it does come down to the fact that all of this agri-tech and agriculture that you're doing, it has to go to somebody's plate, it has to reach a person, and it has to meet a certain grade for it to be marketable. So, and those high yielding varieties are will have to be genetically modified now, because nobody can now trust the weather, and the soil fertilities are going down with all the crap that we are funneling into the earth. So and then it will come down to the fact that you have to scientifically kind of break down that particular seed and that particular food for it to not completely absorb the bad nutrients that are there and just the nice ones, and then take it up in your body. So I think that is somewhere the potential of all these fancy companies like Syngenta and Genome, and what the kind of work they're doing, they will like that's where I think they're looking at, and they are using AI and ML. Like as Gary said, it is AI ML drug discovery, but the only thing here is that we are trying to kind of just transform the way that particular seed kind of generates nutrients within itself. So
Yeah.
and I think that's, and genomics in agriculture would be the next best thing, and we would need a lot of nice biotechnologists looking out for us.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
You're right.
Terence, I have seen certain themes play out in the agri-tech space. This space has received a lot of attention here in India because of government action also.
Yeah.
So, I belong to a country which has 16% of the world population, and 52% of the land area of my country is arable. So we are talking about 50% of our population working as farmers. So, essentially around 9% of global population is in India and is a farmer. So you can imagine the size of this thing. And there has been a lot of government action because farmers constitute a large voting bloc and they can move governments. So historically, the government has a large role to play in the Indian agriculture sector. And there were a lot of government-led inefficiencies which were built into the system in the form of monopoly procurement by government agencies, and that hampered a lot of tech innovations which could seep through in this sector. Recently, the government has removed those monopolies, and good days are ahead. So I'll just give a brief of the type of agri-tech companies which are coming to us. Like, there has been demand-led cultivation companies, managed farm networks, full stack agronomy companies, unique companies like a floral waste can be converted into charcoal-free luxury incense product. And this kind of a product has a great utility in India because there is a large population which goes to temples and uses incense products. We have seen to be marketplaces, farm to consumer, fintech, rural fintech, as Shreya said, is very hot because the channel of lending for farmers here in this part of the world is very informal and at high interest rates. So there is a large demand, but at the same time, the number of agencies are few, and there is a lot of inefficiency in the rural fintech space. Then we have seen food processing companies. We are a consumption-led economy, and food processing gives value addition to the farmer and brings more money on his table. We have seen business to farmer model, and there are challenges around business to farmer model because a lot of farmers can't pay enough. Their paying capacity is low. Then you know we agri-tech companies have been focusing on essentially top 20% of Indian farmers who own more than 50% of land. And these are the farmers who have the purchasing power, and hence the companies are targeting them. We have the example of Japan, which did afforestation in a large scale and is a very green country. So afforestation is one area where companies have come to us. A company had come which was using drones for distributing seeds and doing afforestation. Then 100% organically grown foods and vegetables are being delivered at the doorstep within 12 hours. That's a company which was doing that. And although the nature of that company is very hyper local and requires dollops of cash to meet this criteria, but that was a very interesting company. Then credit led lending, access to formal credit system. As you would know, micro lending had come in 10 years back to India and Bangladesh and Pakistan. It became quite big, and that is a theme which will keep on playing again and again as we go ahead in the future.
Yeah, I think you're right on that as well, Tusha. The farmers and the governments are in that central position as well. I mean, Gary, over to you with this one. What's your thoughts on this, and how can they play a role to really either adopt agri-tech or promote agri-tech, so to speak?
How can they what? I didn't hear what you said,
How
Terrence.
can they play the role to either adopt or facilitate agri-tech?
You mean the
And
farmers? How can
yeah,
they?
the farmers and the governments itself.
Situation is
Yeah.
it's I mean it's either do or die, right? This is not like an option anymore. You either do it or
Mm,
die. So if they
Absolutely.
don't do it, they're going to be antiques. They're going to be ancient history because they've got to keep up with the demand. This is like and again, I'm a country boy from the
mm,
farm. This is like
mm,
if you got more population, the demand goes up, and you're not efficient, you're going to fail. So the situation is it's a matter of education, and different places in the world are different because some are more some farms are more technologically advanced, and they're large corporate farms rather than small farms, right? So sometimes it's a different situation, but with the demands on the planet, they're going to have to keep up. So I mean, education is part of it. Educating
mm,
how you can get more yield from a particular farm, and and make more money. So we've got to educate those farmers. I think in general, it's happening very, very quickly. And so um, so large corporate farms, especially where they're actually to get huge yields, it's interesting. So it's happening now, Terrence.
mm,
This technology revolution is hitting all areas I mean, here we are in Zoom, right?
mm,
A year ago, actually 5.5 years ago in California, Menlo Park, I was sitting in my office. The One of the VCs for Zoom, who's a friend, called me up. I said, I have this really cool stuff. It's called Zoom. We just invested in it. Why don't you sign up? And he said, you can do it for free. I'll send you a link. And I would send it out to my friends, and they said, oh, I don't want Zoom. Zoom isn't any good. I already use Skype, or Google. I don't
mm,
really need this. And now here we are, 400 million people, and Eric is worth almost $20 billion today. So look how much our lives have changed and how we've responded. And so around the world, we're connected in an entirely different way, sharing ideas. So you don't have to just be a farmer. Imagine the possibilities. So the farmer's got a dashboard, but now we're able to interconnect farms together. So I've got feed, another farm has chickens. I'm able to
mm,
get the right kind of feed to the right place at the right time based on the usage of those chickens to the and how much better does that make a farmer's life, right? So you don't
mm,
have to say, well, geez, bring me over a shipment. It actually knows how much you need at what time, and if that particular feed store doesn't have it, it can go out to others. So this interconnected, farming 4.0 is just
mm,
it's a revolution taking place, and this revolution is taking place literally in all facets of our society and everywhere, right? Doesn't matter if you're in Africa, it doesn't matter if you're in India or the US or Europe, it's happening quickly. I mean, and we've got to respond to changes, Terrence. There's right
mm,
now a 90-mile long iceberg in the middle of the ocean, floating around that's 600 feet deep. 600. It's melting. The amount of water. So look at where we are in terms of temperatures. Just I can tell you about Florida. Florida is 26 inches above sea level in some places. Well, it's predicted by the end of this century that we could be up 3 meters in terms of water. 3 meters.
no,
Yeah.
that's a
So
lot. Yeah.
what's a lot? So the situation is, we are in a. I was involved in a weather startup that came out of Princeton University in the early 1993, 94, and
Mm.
Dr. Crick was he's 80 some years old when I met him. He was actually one of Einstein's students, so that kind of a guy. He started the meteorology department at Caltech. We were doing long range weather forecasting, nonlinear long range weather
Mm.
forecasting based on patterns. And he was talking about what was going to happen. And this is before anybody was really talking about global warming. I mean, lightly talking about it. And it's just those kind of things are happening today. So, the places like Russia and Canada are going to be the bread baskets of the world, right? They're
Mm.
going to water is going to be critically important. So farmers have to be concerned about that because there'll be water wars. He told me then that we were going to see more bottled water. He said it's going to be standard because water is going to be traded like a commodity, like oil in barrels. It's going to be that important. So, and we're there. So, what's important for farmers? How do I get the water supply with his dwindling water supply and non-potable, non-drinkable water? How do I cleanse it? Well, I need technology to be able to identify in the water supply what's good or bad, and I don't want to get my cows sick, and nor do I want to get my vegetables to have a bacteria on them. So
Mm.
I need to make sure I have the right water at the right place at the right time that's clear and
Mm.
automatic. So what's happening is all things are going to be optimized across the farm, and all things are start to be connected together. Imagine the farm connected right to the grocery store. So the grocery store says, this is how much demand I have. The farmer understands what the yield is on a daily basis, understands on a second, right, real time basis. And so it could automatically figure out where to get the best price at the right kind of time and when to be able to pick those crops for that particular store, because you don't
Mm.
want to have it's a commodity based um, product, right? You want to make sure that you're maximizing your price for it. So it's incredible opportunity for us, but it's not like an if it's going to happen. It is happening because demand is going to put a strain on our system.
You're right. Demand and population is
Can I add
growing.
some, Terence? Can
Yeah.
I add something over there?
Sure, sure.
So whatever Gary said resonates very strongly because I'll give you an example of Asia. We
Mm.
have most of the rivers here originating from China, and these rivers go to South Asia and Southeast Asia. So this year, Mekong has 143 dams in China and more than 150 dams in the lower riparian countries. And this year there was a drought in the lower riparian countries because these dams they held up water. How
Mm.
crucial water is, I'll give you an example. In many parts of my country, India, electricity is free for farmers, which means that they use tube wells and use groundwater. And as a result, the groundwater levels have gone really low. And on the other hand, you are talking about dams being built by upper riparian countries and hence holding back of water, which is so crucial to the economies here, which are dependent on subsistence and agriculture. So, this is we are talking about millions of population being, recently I read that one of the commodity exchanges, I don't remember which one it is, uh, started trading in water. And, that shows that, there is the times when water will become very crucial as a commodity and not as a freely available source.
Yeah. And a quick follow-up question to that as well. I mean, how are the governments then playing a part in transforming the whole industry, the whole agriculture bit in Asia as well?
Yeah, so in India, the government recently came out with three farm bills, and which have corrected the historical lack of balance in the market forces within agriculture. So one of these bills, they completely removed the monopoly of the agencies of the government who used to procure farm produce, and hence the farmer is now free to sell their produce across the country to any business house and at a great price discovery, which would also mean use of technology for discovering price. Secondly, contract farming has been allowed. I mean, can you believe it? Till date, Indian farmer could not do contract farming. And now it has been allowed, which would mean that a lot of efficiencies will be built into the system. Also, there is lack of scale and low productivity and low post-harvest value addition. So we will see more brands coming up in agriculture produce and a lot of companies jumping into it. There is also, as Shreya said, unpredictability of prices because a lot of the farmers here are dependent on rains, timely rains, and so that would also get affected by use of technology.
Right. And Shreya, over to you as well. Are the governments in Asia playing enough of a role to help and aid
Trying,
transformation?
I think they are more trying to empower farmers. I think I'm not just talking about India, but talking about the other South Asian countries like Indonesia and Philippines and everywhere else. Because as Gary said before, like before you implement technology into an age-old practice and an age-old business, a person needs to be educated, a person needs to be given awareness. Like I come from a country where literacy rates are decent, but anybody, anything and everybody who's tier three or rural India, for them operating phones and operating apps is not an easy job until and unless they are vernacularized to Hindi for that matter. And then this is where I think the government needs to kind of get there, do PSUs, like create collaborations with these corporate houses and these technology disruptors, as we call them, and go to the ground level, educate them as to, if you want that dashboard that Gary is talking about, where the closest grocery store tells you that this is the amount of spinach I'm going to need next week, or this is the amount of peas I'm kind of predicting using AI. He should be able to use it, and he should be able to monitor his soil. He should be able to figure out whether the arability of his current land works for him, and whether his output is going to meet the connectivities and the market linkages that he has been given access to. So the governments are trying their best, I would like to say, or I would like to believe. But yes, there's a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot of room for investment, especially when we talk about downstream agriculture, where everything is input driven, fertilizers and tractors. Like getting an automated harvester to pick vegetables is not going to be an easy implementation in India. Like leasing tractors was one of the biggest struggles. Tata and Escorts went into in India. So to get a farmer to not own a tractor but to lease it and not call it that it's not mine. Like government had to play a role, bring in those kind of players, bring in NBFCs that kind of tell them that yeah, it's okay, it's this is something that will work for your benefit, it will reduce your costs, it reduces your capex, and it will kind of, so farmers somewhere need to be made aware of the advantages that a government can provide. Like the government can implement anything and everything, but they need to be more cognizant of the fact that are they explaining the benefits of what they're doing for us and to us.
Right.
So I think that's where kind of Asian governments
Can I add?
Sorry. Yeah.
Yep. No, you're about to finish your sentence there, Shreya. You were saying.
That's
Can
what
I
was
add
just
something,
saying.
Terence? Here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead,
Sorry,
Nisha. Yeah.
Shreya, you were finishing something?
Yeah, so I'm just saying that
Yeah,
these Asian governments just need to kind of, complete the circle and, make sure that their efforts are well justified. And yeah.
So I was saying that farmers have been a very critical lobby in all countries, and governments hence have a great role to play. I mean, you calculate the subsidies which are given by European and American government, the Japanese governments, they run into trillions of dollars. And hence, in spite of being cold countries, they have that kind of agriculture output. I mean, we are talking about US having more arable land as compared to India. Sorry, India having more arable land as compared to the US, but the agriculture exports of US is close to $150 billion and India is around $40 billion. So, this shows the inefficiencies in the system, like small land holdings and lack of processing facilities and cold chains, and lack of online trading and stuff. So you said, how is the government playing a role? I mean, in the last 1 year, in the last 4 years, the Indian government has distributed $25 billion worth of farmer credit cards. There has been a $15 billion agri infra fund which the government has created, and 40 million farmers in India have been given insurance by the government in the last 4 years. Also, $15 billion have been transferred to the bank accounts of around 100 million farmers in India directly to their bank accounts. So, this is the kind of role the governments have to play, and because it's a very sensitive subject, it affects everyone.
Right, right. I think we're going to see definitely more developments coming from the government side, and the farmers are going to look at this seriously as well. But the fact still remains, I think agriculture remains less digitized, I think, compared to many other industries globally. So I think, why is that, do you think, Gary? And how do you think the new startups at the moment that are looking at this now, how do you think they can come into the picture and really start helping?
You mean in terms of the startups coming into the farming? Sorry about that. I just got
Yeah.
one of my companies is getting funded, and I just got a little note. So
Ah, nice. Congratulations on that. No, as I was
Gary, show me
saying,
the money.
Congratulations, Gary.
yeah, thanks.
You
yeah,
should be
and
on VCTC more often then. One more session per day.
This is I'm coming up on 700 VCTV, so I've been here a lot.
No, I'm saying you should do 2 sessions per day so that you get these funding notes twice
Oh
over.
yeah, there you go. Yeah. Maybe it's luck. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
all right.
So as I was saying, Gary, lots of businesses are looking at you and the panel today as well. So how do they come in? Because the agriculture industry itself, it still remains. I mean, when we are comparing, it is less digitized. So how can all the startups, the new business, come into the industry and really make that shift?
I mean, the situation is, so if it was me, I mean, it's again, I'm a country boy, so keep it simple, stupid is my thing, KISS. And so what I would do is I would go out to the innovation arms of some of the companies like was it Monsanto, and I would go to them and start to work with them because they've got money, they're into the
Mm,
space, and I would look at how you can be able to assist them. If you try to do a point-to-point solution, trying to go to the small farms, it's just probably not going to work. You've got to go to people that have a wide reach so you can maximize the opportunity for you. You can build that channel, if you will, for yourself. So I would look at that. But then again, I mean, remember, I wrote an article, I don't know, it was in Forbes, called Transportable AI Models. The
mm,
same AI that's being used in manufacturing based on the training sets can be used in farming. So if it was me, I would go to those larger companies. I would pick out the top three that could be interesting, that have innovation arms. And so you look, and they'll generally have funds tied in with them. And
mm.
I would start to go to their events, their pitch events, their online presentations, figure out what kind of things they want. I would tweak my technology, in my case, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. I would tweak it to make sure that it fits. Now, the good news is many times there's government assistance and funding to be able to have that kind of research help. But I would go to them, for it was me first. We have one company that has self-driving tractors, right? And the whole idea with self-driving tractors is to move it outside and for self-driving cars in an entirely different way than anybody has it today. But the experimentation is with tractors because you got less risk, right? Less liability. So I would go down and do that. At the same time, you know that I just shared an article on gene splitting, genomes, and artificial intelligence. The situation is we know this is going to take place. We know we have to have better strains of crops. We know that the population of the world is dramatically increasing. We know we've got challenges with global warming, by the way. And, just FYI, for my friends from India in 2005, remember the flood in Mumbai? So they'll imagine the sea level rise up to 1 meter. What is going to do to a place like Mumbai with a population of 20 million people? So look at what happened in 2005 and take that across the world. So we have challenges. At the same, so that's what I would do. And at the same time, for me, if I'm an investor, I know that two areas are going to be um, really good for crops. That's going to be Russia, right, and Canada. As things start to warm up within the next, 50 years, you're going to start seeing migrations toward those areas. You're also going to see challenges with water supplies. And so the farmers have to make sure they've got stable water supplies going into the future because that's going to be a huge, huge problem for them. So I would look at how I can optimize, how I can make the system more efficient, and go to people that have the money. If you start doing a point-to-point solution, as I say, going out to those farmers, you're not going to win. And the other thing is, look at, going down the chain, look at companies that do the processing of the particular product. So if it's a chicken like Tyson's, globally, look for those large corporations where you can help them because they've got the money. The key is the money. The startups, it's always a challenge with startups is how can I get money to fund my project? So the other thing is go to impact funds because impact funds are really concerned with this sustainability too. And there's some extremely active investors and also family offices that are interested in this particular problem. How do we make this food supply reliable?
Mm. Yeah. I think those are the few places that some of the businesses can take note of as well. And Tushar, let's continue talking about some of the companies, some of those headline-making brands that you are possibly looking at the moment. I mean, do you see any interesting ones?
So I mean, look at the recent example of Jack Ma, his IPO, and his whole the rise in valuation based the lending part of the business which he created. I mean, we are talking about instant lending. So instead of monolith banks, having huge infrastructure and a lot of processing time and stuff like that, we are talking about instant lending. So I mean, there are a lot of companies which come to me on the fintech side which facilitate easy lending. And the Indian farmer is basically a small farmer because our land holdings are uh, uh, largely distributed because of some legacy issues, and they have problems with access to credit. So I mean, recently a company came which is facilitating credit to farmers by taking their warehouse and inventory as collateral. So that struck me as a very beautiful way of lowering the risk as well as making it very easy for the farmer to get access to funds. We have 450 agri-tech startups in India as on date, and they are growing at around 25%. But with the advent of these farm bills and which have come, it's a earth-shaking kind of move, and I strongly feel that across the whole spectrum of the macro themes within agriculture, there will be an explosion of companies, and the growth will continue for a very long time to come, given that the scale at which Indian agriculture operates.
Got it. Shreya, how about yourself? Any interesting companies that are grabbing your attention?
In the genomes and genetic editing that we were talking about. So, I'm trying to look into that space, and, companies like Zymergen, Pivot Bio, and, Ginkgo Biotech, these are the kind of companies globally. Like, I believe they are all American. And, and that's the kind of work that you're expecting, when you talk about increasing efficiency and optimizing productivity and still trying to be sustainable for sustenance is the kind of genetic editing that I am looking at. And I am hoping to find Indian startups and Indian biotech to be doing that, or to be trying to capture that kind of market space.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
I am looking at that. And then obviously, when it comes to my cattle management obsession, then it's the apps that I'm constantly tracking and trying to figure out how they can, how similar startups based out of India, and especially north of India, can kind of pivot from that and learn lessons from them. So yeah.
Got it. Tusha, you were saying something?
Yeah. I was saying that a lot of companies had initially shied away from doing anything in agriculture because of the state-led inefficiencies, and also the fact that although 50% of our population is in agriculture, but it constitutes 15% of our GDP, which seems like a small figure and too much of work spread out and too much to do. But given the fact that agriculture plus processing, food processing plus insurance, these three constitute more than 25%, one fourth of our GDP. That's a good enough figure, and there is a huge opportunity for funds and for investors to look at it very keenly, especially on the adoption of technology side as well.
And Gary, how about from your side of the world? I think the current connectivity and technologies is definitely advanced in where you are, but I'm sure totally new ones will kind of emerge as well. Are you seeing more high band 5G or those? I've heard this LEO constellation satellite based coverage going on. Those frontier technologies. Do you see lots of that coming about, Gary?
Um, in Silicon Valley, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's all around us. You
Hmm.
know, when I go to Starbucks on a Saturday morning, I see Tim Cook. It's like I don't- it's everywhere. So I mean, it's not just 5G now; it's moving into 6G, right? Especially
Mm,
in China. So it's fundamentally changed. The
mm,
technologies are around us. Look at where we are today, as I said with Zoom. Look at how we've digitally transformed, as opposed to the Spanish flu of 1918. And although they still wore masks, in fact, you can look at pictures from 1918. You'll see people from all over the world wearing masks at games, baseball games, etc. But so yes, we're adopting that technology. We have no choice.
mm,
We've been shaken right to the core with this pandemic. I mean, here we are. We've advanced. It's incredible advancements, quantum computing, gone to the moon, on our way to Mars. You know, spaceships, self-driving cars, and we can't even get a roll of toilet paper. Now, what's wrong with that picture? I mean, it's like it's incredible because
yeah.
we didn't do a good job with our supply chain, and this whole idea of just-in-time inventory doesn't work with toilet paper. And the reason I say that, it's a huge problem in California again, right? You can't get toilet paper. It's a funny situation, but here we are as an advanced society with the simple. It's talk about keep it simple. So in terms of adopting, yes. I mean, think about today as the beginning of the 20th century, and AI is a new electricity. Think about the fundamental changes that took place over the next 30 years in our lives, right? In terms of everything from healthcare, being able to work later, all the technology in the hospitals, uh, literally across the board, manufacturing revolutions that were spurned in the manufacturing. It changed our life, fundamentally changed our lives, and we're in that same kind of era now. So now, when
Mm,
you add AI and now quantum computing, imagine Imagine systems that are 100 million times faster than a conventional computer. And that was tested in Google's lab. So imagine problems that would take 10,000 years being able to be solved in 100 seconds.
Mm,
Those are the kind of advancements that are coming in front of us. Think about the implications. Recently, I was on a panel, an expert panel in
mm,
Europe on drug discovery. You know, these vaccines coming out today, most of them are modeled on it with artificial intelligence. In fact, Pfizer used IBM Watson.
mm,
So those are the kind of things that are going to have a dramatic impact on farming. Imagine being able to come up with all kinds of seed strains and you know it just across the board genetics with the to make better chickens, better pigs, across the board instantly. So
mm,
and then we look at things like 3D printing of meat. How's that going to change everything? You're using vegetables, right? So, and
yeah.
I've seen some of it. You know, I've been at the TED Talks and seen some of that, like directly seen it. So we're in
Mm,
an entirely new domain, a very connected domain. And it's not about if, we're forced to do this because our population is dramatically increasing and we've really damaged our planet. And we need to respond accordingly. We don't have a
mm,
lot of time to do it either. And there's a reason why we're looking at the stars. You know, I talked to two high level astronauts. One is Richard Branson's friend, and another one is one of the top NASA astronauts, commercial astronauts. I mean, we've got to look in all kinds of ways. Think about now terraforming, hydroponics. There's areas we can do things when we have dense populations. We need to start working on that more now. It's happening. Yes. Is the technology being adapted? But it's just like, a year ago before the pandemics really took root and Zoom. I mean, there
mm.
was only what, 10 million, 15 million users of Zoom, and now there are 400 million users every day. So those are the kind of things that, we will be forced as a society to make those changes sooner than later. And what's happening is around the world, I deal with every single day, I'm doing panels, 4, 5, 6 panels around the world. I hear a lot of things, Africa, um, Indonesia, Europe,
Mm,
Russia, etc. We're being connected together. Our societies are starting to be blended together a lot more than they ever have before. All in our entire system, our entire supply system for a food standpoint are start being more and more tied together and sharing information. It's incredible time, really incredible. AI is the new electricity, really, for the especially for the startups in India. Look at artificial intelligence and the applications. These are transportable models, only based changes with the data sets,
mm.
and look at how you can apply it for farming and to be able to make the world a better place. Go to the VCs that focus on areas like impact investing and sustainability. Go to those large corporations because there's funding available, and go to them to be able to bring your technology out faster, sooner than later. And it's critically important. And most countries understand how important it is. It's just a matter of raising the bar a bit.
Great. And following up to that question as well, Tusha, this one goes out to you. What would you like the startups out there to showcase so that they can get your attention or the attentions of VCs out there?
See, look at lithium-ion battery. Look at solar. The moment they were adopted en masse, and because of mass adoption, the pricing started getting lowered, uh, and it became a two-way thing. And the more the prices started getting lowered, there was more adoption. So that kind of thing, builds up its own momentum. So the day we see technology, the prices getting lowered, and hence getting adopted on a massive scale, we'll see the things change rapidly. And any kind of startups which facilitate such a thing, a lowering of pricing. I work very closely with a robotic company in Gurgaon whose disinfection robots cost $11,000 as compared to Germ Falcon's robots, which cost upwards of $50,000. Any such revolutionary kind of startups, be it in artificial intelligence or blockchain, GIS, remote sensing, data analytics, and Internet of Things, they are very important, and also remember, in this part of the world, the farmer is not that much educated, and the farmer does not have access to that kind of data analytics which big corporations have, and hence he sometimes grows the wrong crop, grows it at the wrong time, is not able to find pricing, and any such startup which enables the farmer uh, analyze data better and hence make an informed choice and hence get better pricing. All those startups are there on the radar.
Great. Shreya, this one is for you as well. How do the startups out there get your attention? What should they showcase?
I think startups that showcase actual real time problem solving, like for me, digitizing agriculture just not comes from being able to facilitate one transaction or just one location of market traceability. Like, I'm trying to look for startups that have models and have solutions that are easily scalable, that
Mm,
can be applied to probably one little state or a district in north of India, but can also be pivoted and taken back to, say, an apple orchard in Southern California, things like that. And for startups, I think what they really need to focus on is how do they empower these farmers. It doesn't
mm,
have to be a and so-called underprivileged farmer of India, but it could also be an underfunded farmer in the US, or a very highly technologically sound farmer in Israel who is using all kinds of top-notch technology to monitor his production. So, startups that are looking to be startups that are looking to be very persistent in solving a problem, because agriculture is not going to be digitized completely, or even at a good penetrable rate, over, like, over a span of a year or so. It is going to take more time than necessary to,
mm.
kind of get these farmers on board, tell them that yes, technology can, kind of take you to the next stage in terms of efficiency and feasibility. And if an entrepreneur is willing to say that yes, I am going to put the next year, the next four, minimum of next 5-7 years of his life trying to solve a problem for sustenance and sustainability, yeah, sure, he's more than welcome to drop me an email. And yeah, that's what it is.
Great. Thank you for that, Shreya. And for those tuning in as well, you heard it here on VCTV. The panel, the investors, the people that you see here in front of you today, they want to listen to you. And if you have that business in helping one of the oldest industries on our planet grow, do look at the links below. You can contact us, you can contact them as well, and we will be that bridge to connect you to the people that you see here in front of you today. And due to the few minutes that we have left, I'm going to go around and just give you the opportunity to perhaps plug a thing or two and tell us what you think about VCTV instead. Shreya, first with you.
So I have usually found all your panels, and I have followed Gary around on VCTV. So I find them really informative, and I think it's a very good platform for startups and entrepreneurs to know that yes, VCs are hungry for interesting startups and good transformative ideas. So don't lose your hope. We are all ears and pockets open, and yeah, that's what it is. So thank you for having me here.
Great. You're always welcome, Shreya. Gary, over to you.
Yeah, no, it's a great. These are, this is a, look at it as an opportunity. There's great opportunities around the planet to make a dent in the universe. Each one of us has a responsibility to make our own little dent. And some people say, well, geez, I can't affect change, but I'm telling you, can. So we need to take those steps forward. Our planet needs us, humanity needs us, and each one of us can do it. So GSD, my company, Get Shit Done Venture Studios, is a premier AI venture studios. We curate companies from literally around the world, from Africa, from Indonesia, from India, from Germany, US. It doesn't matter. What we do is we take companies global, and we use Silicon Valley as a port. So we don't relocate the whole staff there. We take the operations folks to the Valley because we can get higher levels of valuation and the access to partners and talent, et cetera. So you can reach me, Gary Fowler, on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I write a lot of stuff all the time, all the time. 3 to 5
Yeah.
articles a week. So
Uh,
I'd love to hear from you. And I have a couple of shows. I have GST Presents. I have people like Guy Kawasaki on my show. Richard Branson's partner in Virgin is going to be on, Per Wimmer, and love VCTV. I've met so many incredible people here. I've met some of the wealthiest people in the world. Their representatives come on VCTV, and of course, I follow up with everybody. And I go back through, and you cannot believe who I've met. I mean, I've had some very interesting conversations. Very,
Great. Good to know.
yeah,
And
it's incredible.
we definitely want to have you back as well for the next show. Tushar, last words. Sum it up for us.
Well, Terence, it has been my first time with you as a moderator, and I thoroughly loved it. And your choice of questions is absolutely amazing. And I remember two of the movies which were blockbusters here in India, Iqbal and Lagan. They were centered around the countryside and romanticizing the countryside. I mean, all of us are farmers at heart, right? I mean, we
Right.
want good for the farmer. We want good for the countryside, and
Mm.
thank you for picking this wonderful topic today. And as with VCTV, it's so much fun and excitement to be a part of it, sharing the panels with wonderful people and wonderful moderators. Thank you to you and Carol as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, to all of you out there and to the panel as well, your thoughts and insights today has hopefully made a dent. And we hope to see you on board and do come back again. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye bye.